In today's video, we're going to talk about the new Ashiro in the game and whether or not you guys should pull. We're also going to talk about her build. What is the best, most effective build for her as well? Actually, you know what? Stay tuned. We'll just save that for another video because I could, frankly, turn that into its own thing. So we'll just do that because I'm really good at ripping off a 12-minute rant to answer your questions. So anyway, should you pull? Long story short, really quick, probably not. There's a couple caveats that I'll explain, but probably not. And the reason why is because, well, simply put, there's not anything in particular that says you need this character. Like sometimes there is some content that is like, oh, you really need this character, or a character's limited, or some other qualifiers could be in there. So I don't know that that's the case for Ashiro. And so simply put, my answer would be I would recommend mostly for most players. As you see, I've got a pretty well-built account. Every 5-star built, invested in, tested, gameplay, blah, blah, blah. I would say for most players, probably not. Especially because you probably pulled last week for an army. Because he's limited. And FOMO exists. So with that also being in there, I would just say take some time, recoup. She will be here for a while. You can decide if you want to pull for her later on. Unless you just love the character. If you love the character, I can't say anything about that. Now, to the quality of the character. I think she's super good. I actually think Ashiro is super duper good. Aside from the one, what is it? White whale? Is that the right word? Aside from this dude who just, I can't even consider anybody else. He's somebody that when I compare characters, I just have to say, except for this guy, just remove him from the list. And there's one fight that he doesn't blow up, literally one fight, but he blows up literally every other fight. It's weird with that one fight. I have no clue. But aside from him, she is the single best damage dealer in the game in terms of total damage output. So what does that mean? It means that if you were to take a character and account for all the damage that they contribute to a fight from start to finish, she should be, from what I've experienced so far, the single best character in terms of output. So what are some other good TDO characters? If her attack was maybe 400 higher, she may be in contention for that, but she's, in my opinion, not. But she would be a good, in theory, character. She's probably still really high up the list. Why? Because she constantly spams that ultimate, right? And then another thing is characters that hit blast attacks, adjacent enemies, AoEs, whatever. They, in theory, are set up for more success because while they're, I guess maybe what it is that that's not necessarily true because the single target character hits really hard on one single enemy. So if you account for the full amount, it's not exactly the case. But I guess, for Kikaru, it is a little bit more the case just because she's spamming. But for Ashiro, what really makes Ashiro stand out is Bakko. So Bakko does this thing where he's innately faster than her. So I would actually not, when it comes to speed, I wouldn't put speed on her unipart foot part. I would just put shot damage, which I'm looking for, but it's taken a while to find. I will put shot damage and just call it, right? Because you want Bakko faster. And so with Bakko being faster, he will go before she does, which means she will get a crit bonus, and she'll get a shield, and she'll fire off an attack. And so this is really strong. The extra attack in here means the out of turn damage she's doing when Bakko takes a turn, it adds to the TDO. So she is outputting every single time her or Bakko takes a turn, she fires a big shot off. And this is not just a single, weak move or whatever. This is an adjacent hit. So she could hit 3 enemies pretty hard at once. And with that crit rate, she's got the best crit rate in the entire game, regardless of uniparts, anything like that. She's constantly sitting at roughly 100%. 90 something with Bakko's investment, with her weapon as well, giving this, she's constantly at about 100%. Especially if you got other things like the uniparts and Chester, she's above 100% technically. So she is going to pretty much always crit on every single thing she does. So overall though, really, really powerful character. Her follow-ups also hit like a truck. She has a very strong modifier on the follow-ups. So when she throws that out there after a break, she's really going to output good damage. She does these blast attacks, so she's got an increased likelihood of breaking an enemy. And then when she does her attack here, she advances Bakko's action order by 50%. This is really strong because if you look at the action order meter at the bottom, Bakko will jump from the far left, meaning he's one of the last characters in that sequence to go, all the way to the far right, being one of the first characters to go. That's really strong because, like I said, that triggers another extra attack. Right? There's a couple of other things that also start happening. Before activating the Bakko extra attack, she gets a 20% damage dealt bonus for 2 turns. So it's going to innately hit harder than it would otherwise, of course. And that's really strong too, because when she does take her turn, typically after Bakko, like I explained earlier, she's jumping into every turn with a 20% damage bonus off the rip, right? And then this makes it to where she starts off with Combined Forces. Combined Forces is a little bit confusing, but basically I guess there's a chance for Bakko to just do the crit and shield without doing the attack. Combined Forces is the proccing of the attack, basically. So she starts with that, then she gets more on the ultimate, so she pretty much always will do the extra attack. That's what that is. After using her ultimate, she gets 2 turns of an attack increase to this unit as well, which again will extend to this extra damage as well. Like I think the crazy thing about that is that like the stronger she gets throughout the fight, the more she stacks up, the better that all her hits do. So this broke, let me fix it, including the extra, which again is valuable because she's just constantly throwing it out there. Now, like if the argument is like her versus a character like Narumi or her versus any other character, you can bring up certain things. But like the new Narumi, for example, he's spamming that ultimate, right? But I think when you consider the fact she's going to do that, she's going to advance Bakko, she's always going to crit, she is the next character in the game, the next best character in the game at pure overall damage output. Her weapon also does this thing where when she does that stuff, before activating a combat skill, she gets a damage bonus, right? Again, extends up to the Bakko extra attack, but because Bakko isn't his own character, he's a part of this kit, but basically what he does is that's ridiculous, is that he gets an action order turn, but he's not his own character. So he doesn't have his own stats. So everything is funneled through Ashiro's stats. And then again, before activating an extra attack, the Bakko effect, she gets a crit damage bonus, which stacks 3 times. So while she's always critting, she's also now going to get 39 or so % extra crit damage by default, after 3 extremely easy to do extra attacks. Because like we explained, Bakko's action order shoots up, Bakko takes more turns, that does more extra attacks, and she will get this pretty quickly. There's sequences where she could go in 1 turn, it could be Bakko turn, and then crit rate, extra attack, Ashiro turn, combat skill, boom, Bakko shoots back up. And then she could take 3 hits, because Bakko would go, before the first turn sequence even ends. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's really strong. My goal here is not to sell you on the character. It's to explain kind of what this, because it's kind of convoluted. And I had to play with her for damn near an hour to figure all this out. It's like, okay, well, this does that. That works this way. Because just reading it, it's like you understand it, but you have to see it. And then, like I was mentioning, there's also another unipart set that was added. Now, this isn't a part of the character, but she is the best, most efficient character with this. You could put this on anybody and it would be all right. But before doing an extra attack or follow-up skill, afterwards. This is afterwards. So the funny thing about this is if it's the extra attack, it will apply because she typically goes right after the extra attack after Bakko's turn ends, because she's the next fastest character. So she'll get that. But if it's a follow-up, the character would have to wait till their turn triggers whenever that is. So that's funny. Maybe their turn's not even close. Maybe they just took their turn and their ally did the break and they get a follow-up, right? Anyway, so she gets 3 stacks of 12% here. So really, really strong. That's not, again, this is a unipart set. It's just designed for her, so it's worth mention. And this is all without me even looking into the dupes. Like, this is all without me even looking into the dupes. Before activating a combat skill, gets a 30% crit damage. Do you know how busted? After using this character, this is so busted after using this character. This is so ridiculously busted. Now, because she does blast attacks and her damage is spread out, she's not going to do that one big hit that does like 300,000 damage. She's not going to do that. You have to account for the full blast attack, and you have to account for the out of turn too, right? Turn duration of combat combined forces goes up by 1. After the unit activates an extra attack, applies defense penetration, stacks 5 times. They're really funneling defense penetration out there since Chester and Kikaru. Shield modifier goes up by 50%. She only was getting like 190. So she would get another 50% on that, I guess. It's nothing really to write home about. The last dupe, though, Bakko's turn duration buff for the crit rate goes up. This is actually overkill because you're not ever falling off the crit rate. So whatever. And then if you're above 70%, you get the extra crit damage. That's where that shield is valuable because you get extra crit damage. But it's not like the other Ashiro where, like, if the other Ashiro had a shield, she wouldn't lose the attack. And that's just innate to her kit. That's a dupe for the crit damage here. So honestly, also side note, I have to test it, but I'm not going to because I refuse to remove these Uniparts and put them back on. I wonder if fungal is better. Just because crit damage is so much more valuable than rate. This rate is superfluous. Like, she does not need this rate at all. She genuinely does not need this rate because especially if you got Chester or Hoshina on the team. But you don't need that either because she's got 65 or so % by just having her weapon. And then Bakko pushes like 30%. Like, she's already at 100%. Like, she's automatically there with her weapon. So, yeah, I do wonder about that. But like the 36% or whatever it is on damage dealt is probably extremely strong. So while I said I don't think she's a character you should pull, it's not because of the character's quality. It's more about the fact you're probably low because you pulled for Narumi. Narumi was a limited character, so that's understandable. And then you want to maybe save. That's why. But if you don't care about that, I think she's really good. Like, really good. And so the last thing to mention is, well, if you pull for her, what are you doing with her? Right? Like, do you need another main DPS? Here's the thing. You need two teams. Even if you have Hoshina, she can be your main DPS for your other team. Now, is that a bit overkill? Do you have Reno, for example? He can fulfill that role fine. And so at that point, it's like, you don't need it, right? He could fulfill that role fine. The new Narumi could fill that role fine. Like, if you built him with fungal crit, he could do that too. Like, he's fine too. So you don't need Ashiro to fill that role. I'm sorry, I'm pretty dehydrated. I'm ready to go. So that's where you consider that stuff too. There's a couple other characters you could consider as main DPSs as well, like Kaiju No. 8. He could fulfill that role, honestly, but I think Ashiro is really good. So overall, though, I think she's worth it if you wanted to pull for her. Like I said, it was mainly just don't do it because those other external factors. But she's, you know what I'll say is she's definitely better than their little preview let off, because the little preview wasn't enough information. The little preview that they did on Twitter, it just was not enough information. I was like, dude, there's something missing here. This just doesn't seem all that great. So overall, I'm pretty impressed. If you want to see her in action, I did a video where I tested her out. So the first half of the video is me kind of going over, figuring out her kit, testing her a little bit. But then towards the latter half of that video, I've understood what she does, and I'm able to explain it better and show it better. So maybe skip to the latter half. I know a YouTuber telling you to skip their video. What? But check it out. It should be on the screen as well as my summons. So I'll see you over there.